And you mentioned the strategic plan, which just kind of came out, and we had a chance to kind of go over it. And I wanted to start there as a bit of a starting point. And what with something like this, how does it sort of get started? Like, what's the process of putting this together? Why do you think it's important to have one of these, and who's been working on this?
Well, this was driven by our business development committee. Mark Harrison in Toronto that runs T1 really drove this, but we did get some help from the Canadian Football League in terms of funding and support from Greg Dick, who's been a champion for amateur football inside the CFL office. And the Business Development Committee had several meetings over a year. We've been quite thorough in terms of process. You guys are associated with a university, so you all know about process.
That's right.
But a process is necessary at times, especially on something that's a foundational document like this. And what we're trying to achieve by having a 5-year strategic plan, and this started before COVID too, is to have those simple pillars, those simple objectives, the vision, the core values, and the strategies where all of our workflow starts from and then flows down. What's our motivation? What's our direction? This is in some ways, it may not be a shot of the organization from 30,000 feet up, but it is one from about 10,000 feet up. And then we've got to work our way down to the ground. I jumped out of an airplane once, so I like using those altitude.
Well, yeah, they're colorful.
But you know, as we get closer to ground, that's how our programs start to take on presence and weight and become deliverable programs. So, you know, we focused on 3 areas. One was within Football Canada, because we need to do the things within our organization to make it a stable organization. We don't have a lot of money in the bank. We are not an Olympic sport. We don't have own the podium money. We have a small staff in comparison to other national sporting organizations. I was just looking over at Basketball Canada. Their lead staff, they have 28, we have 5. And, you know, we're responsible for about 54,000 registrants, and there's about 110,000 people who play the game in one form or another in this country. So we have a group of dedicated individuals who I'd say within our office operate at about 160 to about 180% capacity estimated. They're working overtime and not necessarily getting compensated for it. I think I can say, you can say, cry me a river, because you guys are you sports coaches. You're accustomed to those hours. I know the type of work and the type of hours you put in it. I think it's something that actually characterizes the work ethic of people in this sport quite well. What our office staff does. So we need to do the things that create financial stability for the organization, that allow us to deliver programming to the grassroots. But in addition to that, some of our high performance programs, which represent us well internationally, which will get us to multi-sport games, both for flag and for tackle. Those are the long distance goals. But also represent us well where we can create a TV event to draw more attention to the amateur game in this country. The second pillar is within football in Canada. And one of the approaches that I've taken, and the board has taken with me, and the office has taken since I was elected last year, was to not make it just about our PSOs and not make it just about our registrants, but everybody involved in the game. You know, for instance, you could suggest that Lee Barrett and CFC have a competing vision out there. No, you know what? He's getting kids to play football and putting them on TV. That's a good thing. They're not in competition with us. It's a good thing to get the best talent possible and assemble them together and create a national platform for them. There's lots of great ideas that are happening in and around the game that aren't necessarily directly linked to our organization. So in those cases, when it comes to within football in Canada, we're doing our best to reach out and creating dialogue with them. The Concussion Legacy Project, a lot of people view them as a potential enemy. Tim Fleiser is an adherent to this game. He represents the Concussion Legacy Project in Canada. When you hear him talk about the game, it's with a lot of love towards the game. He wants his kids to play the game of football, right? But he has obvious concerns based on some of the information that's out there. We brought him into a discussion. So instead of just saying he's out there and he's the enemy, what we're doing is we're bringing him into a discussion. I brought him into a discussion with Brian Giebert in Saskatoon, who's worked on a number of national initiatives with us. They probably have the best six-man program, not only in Canada, but maybe the best six-man program in the world. He has stats and data to back up the lower injury numbers associated with six-man, but even more important with six-man, it's teaching kids how to make contact. So instead of just bringing them from a flag program and throwing them into contact, there's a transitional phase. Contact is a taught skill. And if you can teach contact, you bring that injury factor down. So that's the type of discussion that we're having with the Concussion Legacy Project over in that column, and that's football within Canada, and that's just one example. And then the other one is within football outside of Canada. Richard McLean, he's kind of in your neck of the woods. He's the head of ICAP. Richard's had some success after guiding an organization through tremendous adversity behind the scenes, and has got flag football to the World Games in Birmingham, working with the NFL and NFL International in 2 years. That's the start. LA 2028, there's discussion right now about do they play 7-on-7 or do they play flag at 2028, because there are people on that board of directors of that Olympic Games that have influence, that are friends of football. And IFAF is part of that discussion. We're part of that associated discussion, but more importantly, from a Football Canada perspective, we have programming that is grassroots programming. Like Football PEI has done a great job with our First Down and our CFL Futures. They're a great example of that. But we've got feedback from European national organizations. Like, for instance, in Denmark, they've reached out to us. In Finland, they've reached out to us. In Sweden, they even sent a work study student out to our last Canada Cup. And they're interested in the type of programming that we have to get out to their grassroots so they can start developing grassroots football. And from a Football Canada perspective, these are things that we can monetize, which gets us back to the first part about making a stronger organization. It gets us to a point where there's a side benefit where some of those athletes that develop in those countries may end up playing for you guys sometime down the road. I know you've had a few international athletes that have been on your rosters from time to time. So I do believe that Football Canada plays a different role than what USA Football does on the international scene. As Canadians, we're kind of this middle country. There's a comfort level that the Europeans and the Australians and the Kiwis have with us that we can bring forward in the international community. And quite frankly, our grassroots programs are so good. USA Football just stole them anyway. They took the First Down program. They took the LTAD. They just took what we did, and they're using it themselves. So that as somewhat annoying as that is, there's still some gratification there in that imitation. I guess it's the sincerest form of flattery.
Yeah.